going to talk about my 10 favorite songs from Deftones. There'll be timestamps in the description. You can navigate through the video, and I have playlists where I've done top 10 songs lists for other bands. So Deftones were formed in the late 80s in Northern California. Their first album was actually released in 1995. Since then, they've had 9 albums. They generally put out an album like every 2 or 3 years. So it's 2025, and it's been about 4 or 5 years. They're due for an album, I guess overdue for an album. They're a standard 4-piece band. That's how they started, at least. Guitar, bass, drums, vocals. They did, after a few years, add a keyboard slash DJ slash sample kind of guy. I think it's more DJ and samples and keyboard, but he does that kind of stuff. The band's pretty much been the same band for the most part since they had their first album. The only really changing member is the bass player. Unfortunately, the bass player was in a car crash and survived, but didn't survive long afterwards. Died from complications from that, unfortunately. But other than that, replacing him, there hasn't really been a lot of changes in the band members. The band is known for being a new metal band. They often get lumped with bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit, but they have a very heavy, dissonant sound that's very groovy, almost a doom metal sound to a certain extent, where a lot of the other bands that are new metal have a lot more hip-hoppy and rap elements that exist in some Deftones, but not nearly as much as some of the other stuff. They have a very unique sound. There's not a lot of bands that sound like them. It's hard to describe them using other bands as examples. Probably in modern music, I would say Gojira maybe is the only band I can think of that has the Deftones sound. Although they're new metal, they opened for Kiss. They've won some Grammys. So again, they're a very unique band in their sound, but they're not necessarily a band that fits, I think, labels really, really well. They're a metal band, a modern metal band that has their own unique sound. Royal from Diamond Eyes in 2010. This is the first album that they had after their bass player was in the car accident, Chi Chang. This song has a very much the sway, I call it. There's like a back and forth sway, like a groove a lot of Deftones song has, and this song has that sway in it really, really hard. There's a very clean sound to the recording and the production of this song. A lot of Deftones, whether it's the vocals or it's the guitar, there's something that often has a very dissonant, kind of off-putting sound a little bit. It's part of their sound. This is very clean. It doesn't really have that. There are some transition parts that have it, but for the most part, it's a very clean sounding song. They're screaming, but it's more like loud, aggressive talking almost than screaming. That's a solo part. And then when they're singing, there's a lot of harmonized kind of singing, cleaner singing that sounds really cool. Everything, though, that the song does, and it has, the last 30 seconds or so take all of that away. It gets heavy, gets super Deftonesy. It takes and does something different at the very end that reminds you who they are. For everything else I said, it just kind of completely destroys that at the end. Bloody Cape from their 2003 self-titled album. This song has a very cool guitar intro. It's kind of a common thing they do where it's not really a riff, it's more like a chord, but it's a unique chord and some of the notes in it change as they're kind of strumming it, and it has a lot of distortion. A very common Deftones thing, but I think this song does it the best out of all the songs that have that. When the groove comes in, it's a very pulsing groove, like a lot of Deftones grooves. It's very, very heavy song, but there's like an ambience to the heavy. It's not just heavy because of the riff per se. There's just some overlying ambiance that just to me makes it sound heavy. A lot of the Deftones songs does what this song does. I feel like it's kind of a generic Deftones songs, but it does all the different things it does really, really well. This is how they sound. This is what they're meant to do. If you had to play just one song and say somebody hey, do you like this band? This is a really good song to do that with. Chino's vocals are clean, but they have a really, really dirty effect on them, which makes them sound awesome. Generally, if he's singing clean, they have something dirty on them, or they're super clean, but then he's screaming and it's, something crazy. In this case, it's the clean singing that have the effects on them. It's very chaotic, very emotional. The screams, very guttural. Just, again, it's a very good, very standard style Deftones song that's done really, really well. Phantom Bride from Gore in 2016. This was also released as a single. This is almost like a ballad. This is the most un-Deftones song I have on this list. This song has contributions from Jerry Cantrell, who's from Alice in Chains. He does a pretty awesome extended guitar solo at the end. This song has a beer named after it from Belching Beaver, which is pretty cool. But again, it's just such a different, dreamy, almost dreamy, clean song from Deftones. It almost sounds like U2 meets Coheed and Cambria. The music of it is how I would describe it. There's some really cool stuff where they do like backwards recorded guitars. There's really heavy Deftones riffing at the very end. So it's a fairly long song. And after you get the really beautiful Jerry Cantrell solos and all that stuff, you get some heavy stuff at the end to remind you it's a Deftones song. But I just like how different it is and how unique and just awesome sounding and great song. I didn't know when I first heard it, it was Jerry Cantrell. I actually was like, wow, who's doing these solos? That's not a thing that, they do a lot. Ohms, the title track and a single from the 2020 album. This song was nominated for a Grammy for Best Rock Performance. They had another song, Genesis, from the same album that was nominated for Best Metal Performance. I think they got those switched. They were both nominations. They didn't win for either one, but kind of weird to have Best Rock and Best Metal songs both nominated from the same album. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But the song has a super upbeat intro. Once it settles down and kind of gets into the song, it almost has like a halftime feel. This has a very doom metal sludge vibe to it. It's slow, it's fast for doom metal, slow for Deftones, I'd say. The guitar is just off-putting. There's an off-putting tone, but it makes it sound cool. That's what I like about it, is that off-putting tone. It's really unique. There's a lot of unique guitar tones and things Deftone has, but this is one of my favorite guitar tones in any Deftones song. There's really good kind of riffing, grooving at the end. The drums go super hard at the end, and they do that kind of intro upbeat vibe again, and then it's over. Great song. Rats from Saturday Night Wrist, released in 2006. This is one of the most aggressive songs the Deftones have. They are known for having aggressive songs, but man, the aggression in this song, it is at a time when Chino, their singer, was having a lot of struggles in his life, and I think it's really reflected in this whole album, but really this song. The lyrics are wild, man. He is just emotionally screaming, mostly telling the person, whoever the song is for or about, to decide some things in their life, mostly saying the word decide. It's crazy screaming. The vocals, there are times where they're cleaned, but they have time changes. There's a lot of time changes, odd times, and then changing odd times to other odd times. And that's done when they're not doing the crazy screaming. There's changes there too. But when you think it's clean and when it has any sense of more normalcy towards it, then you start getting these, time changes. Man, the guitar and the drums sound awesome, but there's some like ascending, I don't know what they are, keyboardy, sampley things in the background too that aren't guitars or drums that are making some really cool noises. There's a bridge that's awesome. It has like a wipeout, like a drum, kind of like dun 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 dun, wipeout. But if wipeout was like lava, if they were surfing in hell, maybe with wipeout is how that would go. You hear at the very end of the song, it ends, and then you hear Chino like breathing, like shakily breathing. Like, I mean, he sounds upset. He sounds like he's not doing well. Crazy song, super heavy, super aggressive. Swerve City, the opening track from Koi no Yokon in 2012. This song also has a beer named after it, which is pretty cool. Super pristine and clean sounding for Deftones. This almost to me is so pristine and clean sounding, it almost sounds like somebody else doing a Deftones song. If you told some other band to write a Deftones song, I think it would be Swerve City. If you were gonna dance to a Deftones song ever, this is a song you'd probably dance to. The vocals even, there's always usually some dissonance or something that sounds aggressive or dirty. It could be the guitar tone, it could be the vocals, how he's screaming, it could be he's singing but there's a weird effect. This just really has delay and really, nice clean sounding vocals. You usually get something a lot more dirty and affected overall. Again, just a super clean, I think just the clean and the pristine nature of this song. The album itself, the name of this album, it means in Japanese like not love at first sight, but like if you meet somebody and you think you could fall in love with them. So I think this album in general kind of has a more positive vibe a little bit than most of the Deftones songs, but really the song in general, the song sticks out to me from all of the whole album. My Own Summer, Shove It from Around the Fur in 1997. This song was in Rolling Stone as one of the 100 greatest metal songs of all time. It was in the Matrix movie, the first movie. It was in the Rock Band video game. So a really big, really successful song for Deftones. I love this song. It has a super cool 2-note drum intro that's it's become famous. It's almost become like its own meme. It's used in memes where you hear the tom and the snare. It's super well known. Super crisp sounding drums. Another thing that's, I love about Deftones is that dichotomy of the sound sometimes, where you have something super clean and something super dirty sounding. This is a time before they had 9-string guitars to get heavy, so they were kind of getting heavy the old school way, which is really cool. It's a pretty straightforward song for Deftones. I do like the songwriting. The guitar kind of cuts out and things cut out to let it breathe. There's a very poppy part towards the end of the song where you think that maybe it's ending with that real poppy kind of melody. Then you get the super heavy shove it, shove it, shove it again before the song ends. Again, letting you know, they're Deftones, and even if they throw a little kind of poppy, clean part in there, they're going to go super heavy again before it ends. 7 Words from Adrenalize, a single as well, released in 1995. Very, very, very classic Deftones, man. One of the most classic Deftones songs. Super anti-establishment, anti-authority. Awesome, gnarly fuzz sound on the guitar. Very, very cool, almost jazzy, like circular bass riff that kind of goes around the whole time while the guitar is doing something very simple. Very, very basic, but very effective with the guitar, what he's playing. The chorus is just so aggressive. Man, I said Rats, 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 which was earlier in the list as aggressive, but the chorus alone in this, that song is aggressive the whole way. The chorus in this is just so aggressive. The bridge breakdown, I don't know if there really is a heavier breakdown of a bridge in any song. I would love to hear what bridge breaks down more heavy than the bridge in 7 Words. The guitar goes hard. It goes through the wild screaming after the bridge, the wild guitar. It's just, the end itself is another kind of breakdown. So the bridge is a super heavy breakdown. I don't know that the end is the heaviest breakdown. Right at the end is, number 7 or 8 in the list of heavy breakdowns. So just what a clinic of an early, 90s, 2000s metal song. Elite from the year 2000 on White Pony. This won the Grammy for Best Metal Song or Best Metal Performance, the year 2001. I don't think the Grammys do it right very often, but I think the Grammys did it right this time. The production on this song is the best production on, I think, any Deftones song. So the production, how they record the instruments, the tones that they use, I think that's almost as important as the instruments themselves with Deftones. They're really a band that it's like its own instrument, the way it's produced. And they have songs that are super crisp and clean, songs that are super overly aggressive in just how they're recorded and sound. And this is one of those ones that it's just perfect, everything about it, with the way it's done. There's hardly any singing at all that you can hear. It's mostly screaming that you hear well. There is, I think, singing, but it's like this underwater vocal effect that just gives it this weird dissonance. There's a bridge where the guitar just sounds like it's a train engine just chugging along. It stops to let you catch your breath towards the end, and then it just assaults you again before it ends. Great metal song. One of the few times I think the Grammys did it right with Best Metal Performance. Amazing song. Passenger from White Pony, the year 2000. This song features vocals from Maynard, most famous of Tool, but he's in a lot of other things as well. Such a perfect musical performance from every member in Deftones, as well as Maynard doing the guest vocals. Songwriting perfection. Chino is singing and Maynard is singing, and it sounds almost like it's a poem. It almost has like a spoken word quality a little bit to it. The guitar, he's doing harmonics. He's doing like guitar scraping parts and like the verses. The pre-chorus hits so hard. When you get into the chorus, the drums are just so clean, so crisp. He's playing all these super jazzy sounding, almost Neil Peart sounding drum fills. I love it. The song has space. You can hear each instrument distinctly. They talk about great bands like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and how everybody has space and everybody, you can hear everybody. Man, you can hear every single person in this song, what they're doing and how it matches up. The bridge has this awesome halftime feel. The guitar is really what gives it the halftime feel. I don't even know if it's really halftime, but it sounds that way with the way it's being played. The drums are perfect in every part of this song. It's just an amazing performance from all the members in the band. Amazing song. Perfect Deftones song. Perfect song for any metal band who wants to be more than just be heavy, who really wants to write kick-ass songs. This is just a great song.